Great.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Translated. My name is Jay with CompuMatter. We've been doing this for about 20 years here in Anacortes, and the goal for this podcast is to bring the complicated things that are tech down to a layperson's point of view. And it doesn't make us smarter. If you are a home builder or an electrician or a plumber and you told me to start working on some of those things, I would feel just as inadequate as you do when it comes to computers. So that's the goal here, and we'll introduce a few of our staff.
I'm Douglas down here. I'm the manager here at our local branch in Anacortes, Washington, and we enjoy doing this, and we enjoy being a part of our local community. And again, if you have any questions, we've said it before, always feel free to leave a message in our Facebook or our YouTube channel, and we'll try to answer any questions you bring up or even talk about things you're excited about.
All right. My name's Auren. I'm the on-site and training technician here. We do a little bit of everything here at CompuMatter, so if you're not sure if there's a topic that might fit into this, feel free to throw it at us anyway. You never know.
So today, for starting off anyway, we're just ad-libbing for whatever topics we want to go off of. That's why no pressure for any questions you want to throw out there. I wanted to talk about Wi-Fi and its evolution over time. Things are always upgrading and going on to the next thing, and it's happening faster and faster all the time. But most people don't really know what Wi-Fi 6 means. Most people don't even know about Wi-Fi 5. But a couple of the big pointers that I'd like most people to recognize is that with the Wi-Fi 6 technology, there was a latency in Wi-Fi 5 where if something was sent to the router or you were looking up something on the internet on your computer, it would be stopped if another computer was accessing the router for other information. So traffic would sort of get backed up in a sense if you had multiple devices that were all reaching out to the router for information at the same time. The Wi-Fi 6 technology allows it to be more smoothly and simultaneous between multiple devices, so it makes everything a lot faster and a lot less latency.
All right.
And do you know any other points on the benefits of Wi-Fi 6 over previous Wi-Fi?
It seems to be better all around. Security, getting the WPA3.
Yeah, WPA3, which is essentially just the next step on security. What that does is that fights against brute force attacks, which you know what brute force attacks are?
Oh, it's when you find somebody and you just keep pounding. No, it's brute force attack is when somebody's constantly trying to get past whatever security firewall you have in place, whether it be the router or firewall itself, whether it be your computer itself. In the case of wireless, the wireless router itself.
So for security, there's benefits to it. For speed and latency, there's benefits. On the speed, I think I had it written down here. Wi-Fi 6 allows for 9.6 gigabytes per second compared to the 3.5 from Wi-Fi 5, so a lot faster.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a lot faster.
Yeah, and then they also make mentions for virtual reality. If anybody's doing that, it tends to be a lot better for it because of the type of data that it's loading.
It's funny, I've never even heard of Wi-Fi 5. What happened there?
So I believe they had a different name for it, but they just still refer to it as the Wi-Fi 5. And then if you go back, it's N and B.
Well,
and
that's
C.
the one I'm familiar with. Yeah, I think it was even A when it first came out, and then B, and then N, and then some combination of letters, I think. But
I assume at some point they were dual labeling it. It had the letter and it was Wi-Fi whatever number until they got to the point.
But Wi-Fi 6, they've been big with the number thing. They're putting it out there.
Yeah.
This is
Well, they confused a lot of people with Wi-Fi N, Wi-Fi G, and Wi-Fi B.
Understandable.
Yeah. So getting the numbers will at least let you know this one's newer than that last one you were using.
That's true. The alphabet, people got to do math. Right now,
Yeah.
we don't have to do math anymore.
And actually, I might look that up for another episode to see what those letters meant.
I don't know what they meant, but I was there for some of that, so I remember a lot of it had to do with the encryption model.
Okay.
So the early ones were, very minimal encryption, and then each one got more and more secure. The length of your passwords had to be longer, right? It had a lot to do with encryption, and then you get to a point where if you had a G device and your router was your wireless transmitter, right? Your laptop might have a B card in it, a network transmitter card, and then your router might be on G technology, and so they try to handshake and agree on something, and sometimes they couldn't, and so you go through those transitional periods, and even in today's world, you'll still do that. You've got a Wi-Fi 6 laptop, enabled laptop, and you've got an older router, and they try to handshake, and for whatever reason it doesn't, and your solution just ends up needing to come down here or wherever and get a little USB Wi-Fi transmitter that is current and new with the 6 technology, stick it in your laptop, disable your old Wi-Fi adapter and use that.
Sometimes there's no way around just needing to upgrade the actual hardware.
That too.
Not only is there Wi-Fi differences in the different generations, but there's also incompatibility between companies, which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen, to where even if the Wi-Fi is the same, some devices have a harder time handshaking with each other than others.
Right.
And eBay Ukraine Hub, welcome back.
Welcome to the hood, eBay Ukraine Hub.
Welcome
now,
back.
what did we learn from him the last, or her? I'm not sure what we've got there, but
that they were helping people run eBay accounts from Ukraine over in Boston, I think.
Yeah.
it lived in Boston, but helping people in Ukraine with eBay
Yeah.
oriented solutions.
Thank you for joining us.
How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, there's a lot of incompatibilities you can have with Wi-Fi, and one of the suggestions that the boss brought up is you can replace your internal Wi-Fi in your computer if it's not functioning correctly with just a USB Wi-Fi adapter. And that could be a simple solution for some of that.
The cheaper solution in most cases,
Definitely
too.
worth testing out before replacing your router and your modem and those sort of things.
Yeah. If you are running with a very, very old modem or a router, and you're also experiencing slowness, and you get messages on your computer saying that the encryption is weak, you might consider upgrading that too, just to have better security overall.
And speaking of changes that we can't avoid, there is one that's come up a lot with customers here recently, and Auren, if you'd like to share what that issue is.
Yes, so a lot of customers and our users are using Windows Mail, which, if you don't know, it's a little icon that you get on Windows 10, 11, probably even earlier versions, I'm not sure, but it's typically
Windows
blue.
Live Mail was
Windows
the
Live
oldest
Mail.
one, and that one had to be installed. It wasn't native at the time, but it switched
Right.
over to being built into
Right.
the OS with Windows Mail.
Yeah, so Windows Mail it's been an okay program for a lot of people. Once they put in their password to their email account, it usually just works. However, coming, I think, December 31st of this year, they're fully just kicking it out. It's no longer going to be used, and a lot of people are actually getting kicked out of that program sooner rather than later, just because they're trying to slowly push people out of it. And what that means for a lot of people is it's switching over to a program called Outlook New, which I think it's Outlook parenthesis new parenthesis, which if you have 2 different Outlook versions, that can get a little bit confusing too. I have seen people say, why isn't the new one better? The new one is the free version, and a lot of times I think they even come with advertisements now.
Oh, free
So-
advertisements.
Yeah. So that's a fun thing.
Right.
But a lot of times, since people have been using Windows Mail for a long period of time, when this switch inevitably happens, it suddenly prompts them for their login details. And that has gotten people really stuck and able to access their email, so they need to go out and find their password, change their password, figure out stuff. So it can be a little bit of a nightmare, but we've dealt with it. So if you have any issues, that's something we can help you along the way, but we wanted to let people know about this in advance.
Yeah, so come December 31st, they're going to remove the Windows Mail software that's built into Windows. And during that transition, the first thing you're going to be hit with is your password. So if you can, try to figure out what your password is or reset it before that point comes up. And another note to make sure you have dual authentication, or MFA, which means connected to a phone number or an additional email address, just so you have less chance of being locked out of your email forever.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. You know, we do have to get a talking stick. It's something on my. I actually looked.
Yeah.
I was on eBay looking at the Indian.
The talking
You know,
SSD.
there is actually an Indian. That's where it started.
Yeah.
It's a ceremonial thing, and it's to honor the, the ability for
we
one
did
person
it in camp
to.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Every camp had
Yeah.
one that I went to.
All right, so this is a very geeky talking stick once again. So I've been around since the days of, if everybody remembers, Outlook Express.
Oh,
Anybody?
vaguely.
Huh?
I mean, I've been doing this long enough to I was probably at the very beginning of down on 8th Street.
Outlook Express was the earliest. Still good. So excuse that hiccup. We just noticed on one of our screens that our feed went off and then back on again. We're not live anymore? Oh, no.
Oh,
That was a glitch.
That doesn't look right.
All right, well, that's something for the future. What the hell are we talking about? We are live now.
That
Okay.
was with Outlook Express. You were
Okay.
bringing up the earlier version.
So we were talking about the early days being Outlook Express, and then it moving. They actually axed that, which means everybody was left hung to dry, and they moved to Windows Mail, and Windows Mail has been in place in different incarnations ever since. But Microsoft has gotten more and more invasive with Microsoft Mail. We need to upgrade to Wi-Fi 6. Yeah, we're actually using a hardwire, and eBay Ukraine hub. Maybe there's an acronym we can think of for that. Did we disappear and come on again in a new live feed, or has this been a continuous feed? I'd be interested to see if anybody out there lost us and then found us again, or
it did look like it picked back up.
or if it has been continuous.
It did
You
look
do
like
see
it
it?
picked back up, so it probably glitched for them.
But yeah, so Microsoft is requiring everybody, this is the second time I've seen this, where they're forcing everybody into a different mail environment instead of Outlook Express to Mail, now from Mail to the new Outlook, which, by the way, I've learned the new Outlook doesn't do the calendar, CalDAV kind of stuff the way Thunderbird and the existing Mail and some of the other programs do, and that was an interesting aside. Okay, so there are alternatives to being forced into this. If you want to go with the Microsoft Mail, great. Find your username and password, connect the dots, and life will be as it was. But there is a program out there called Thunderbird, made by a company called Mozilla, which is the same company that makes Firefox browsers. And I have personally been using Thunderbird for decades. And I got out of the Outlook Express game years ago and went to Thunderbird. And I averted the regular Outlook and everything else, because in a computer store, we see people come in here with these PST files and OST files that are gargantuan, and all of a sudden it's
And PST files and OST files are literally just the file that contains all of your data pertaining to Outlook, for anybody who doesn't know.
Oh, that's true. I am throwing out some acronyms, aren't I?
Watch out for acronyms.
Yeah. This business is fraught with them. But yes, it's a personal something or other. But anyway, it is a single file that all the email is stored in. Instead of a bunch of different emails, you've got all the emails in a single file. And this is what's Outlook's strategy. Thunderbird, all your emails were kept in individual email files. But the long and short of it is, I have found Thunderbird to be all but bulletproof for all of these years, and so that has been my recommendation. Now the new Mail, maybe, or the new Outlook. It's not really the new Mail. The new Outlook. It's going to be a segue. There's going to be advertising. There's going to be, it's part of the machine, where something like Thunderbird is an open source program, and they depend on a donation here and there. Great software, worth a look.
I'd like to make a note here. Realistically, for anybody who's using Outlook, if they have a giant repository of emails that they are trying to save onto their computer, because of how many times I've seen PST files and OST files become corrupted and not able to be opened, I almost recommend for people who value that email data to download Thunderbird and import your data into it just to have it in a secondary location. Because a lot of times when you're using Outlook, you don't know that you're really slave to the program. Once it fails, you're locked out of getting all your emails. and there's sometimes no way to fix that corrupted file. They do have a doctor program built into it where you can repair files, but sometimes it fails, and I've seen people lose their entire history of email because of that issue. So if you are able to import your stuff, or if you have a company like us down here, we take care of that sort of stuff for people, just so you have it in a secondary location. Because again, backups, duplicates of anything that's important to you is a value, because we see a lot of people lose a lot of data.
But the long and short of it is, you're not going to have a choice. If you're using Microsoft Mail, come December 31st, in fact, right now, they're already forcing you.
Yeah, they're having problems.
Right this very moment, we're getting people walking in the store saying, I don't know my username and password, and it's going, they're forcing me to use Outlook, and now I can't, literally, you can't get your mail, because when you open Microsoft Mail, it starts throwing you up, time to transfer, and they won't let you get to your mail.
And sweet dreams, glad to hear it. I'm glad that was useful information.
Great. I'm glad to hear.
Nice. This is somebody, Sweet Dreams for You from YouTube is weighing in and thanking us for teaching them about installing Ubuntu, which is a Linux variation.
That was a video that Auren made on our YouTube channel.
On your old MacBook. You've got a MacBook, great piece of machinery. Why let it go to waste just because Apple says we don't support this anymore? Forget Apple. Go get a brand new 2025 version of Ubuntu Linux, install it. Your machine will be up and running, doing all the things you want it to do, probably.
Once you install the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, be careful of that. But it does touch on that too.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I did want to also mention, if people are using the Outlook program rather than Windows Mail, they're paying for it, whatever to do with 2016 or 365. I have seen some cases where people will click on Outlook New, log in, think it's the better version, and then get really stressed out because their PST files don't exist.
Right.
The important thing to know about Outlook New, if PST files are important to you, is at the time, they say at some point they're planning on integrating them, but it's been months and months and I have not seen that change. There is no PST integration. So those local folders and emails that you have been saving and maybe archiving over the years just won't be able to be loaded unless you convert it into the cloud.
Right, so if you, essentially another way to do that is to move those folders to your online folders. And one way to do that is to go to the online version of whatever your email is through, say it's Yahoo or Gmail or whatever, you go to their website and create a folder there, and you'll see it pop up in Outlook, and you can migrate your emails. I suggest copying whenever doing this, because if you move anything, there's a chance of making corruption, so always copy, paste it into the online folders. Then once you go back to the website and verify that they got uploaded to the cloud, then you can delete them off of the local, or just leave them there.
So I've got the answer to the question.